Ex-Amway distributors finally hit it big. Hello, everyone. Adam Reeker here. I am with a good friend of mine and business partner. His name is Brad Krantz. And guys, I actually have been waiting to tell my Amway story for about 8 or 9, 10 years. Might be about 10 years now. It's been a little bit. And the reason I didn't go tell my Amway story public to the world is, number one, when I was just leaving and exiting that company, YouTube wasn't really around, or they weren't really big. I didn't think it was going to be what it is today, right? Yeah. And number two is I really didn't want to be the guy that went out there and tore a company down. I wanted to go be the guy that built a company, okay? And those are two very different things. So my name is Adam Reeker. I live in Omaha, Nebraska. I'm kind of ducking and turning back every couple of minutes because I've got a brand new golden retriever puppy sitting back here. And you don't trust a puppy. He is not quite 8 weeks old, and he's just a doll. But so if I'm doing some of this, that's why. Brad, tell some folks who you are, and then we're going to just have a conversation here. I want everybody to know this is going to be a multi-part series where Brad and I just explain a couple of things.
Yeah. Hey, guys, I'm Brad Krantz. I'm from Seattle, Washington. I'm actually business partners now with Adam and his wife, Ashley. We got in the Amway business I'll just say back in 1991. And I've been waiting for about 15 years to tell my story too. I think number one, because the culture that comes out says you never talk negative. Okay. But I think at the same time, we want to share the truth. We don't want to dump on Amway. I have nothing against the company itself. Adam doesn't either. They're a great company that makes some good products. We still buy some of the products. We actually like some of the products. But I think it's what the motivational organizations have done to the companies where our issue is. And it's also, it's a pretty outdated business model too. So I just want to make sure from my standpoint, we're not here to dump on the company. I learned a lot. I learned a lot of experiences. I had way more failures than I had success. And that's kind of what we want to focus on. So what's the outtake of that? Where are you going with this? So we just want to take some time and share our stories. So thank you for tuning in to us today.
Absolutely, guys. And we're going to be very transparent, as Brad and I are always very transparent, especially when conducting business. And, you know, we're going to tell some stories. We're going to say some things that, if you're involved in Amway right now, might make you cringe a little bit, but you know we're telling the truth. Ultimately, the reason that we try to be so transparent in our businesses today is because, to a certain extent, we were taught the exact opposite of that within our different Amway teams. When we were coming up and learning this industry. And Brad, actually, if it would be okay with you, dive in a little deeper about the different organizations that Amway has, because some people, you may have just been contacted by an Amway distributor. They're very disingenuous in their approach in contacting people. You don't even know the name of the company, you don't know anything until you're a lot of times sitting in a hotel meeting. But dive into some of that, the different teams, and that's where the problems arise.
Well, I think, I watched a pretty recent plan from our ex-upline that our upline sent to us. We watched their first ever Zoom video. So that tells you they're about probably 20 years behind the technology curve. But they did mention Amway up front. Now, I went in from back 30, 40 years ago as talk about, hey, you're going to have this business. You're going to be driving these Ferraris, et cetera, et cetera. And you ask, well, what is it? And they say, well, I can't tell you. Well, I knew as a 20-year-old kid at that point, that's not how you do business. You don't tell, I can't tell you what it is. I was contacted back in 1991. It was actually a neighbor that I knew he was doing something. They were working with Coca-Cola and MCI, and I was kind of curious, what are you doing? They're, creating marketing channels, these big buzzwords for something fancy. And I was it piqued my interest, but it was really a curiosity approach. And it wasn't until we actually saw the plan that I understood that Amway was involved with it. They were involved with an organization called Worldwide Dream Builders, and Amway itself never envisioned these motivational organizations. And there were some legal questions that came up back in the early 80s because the success that these motivational organizations were having apart from Amway were the real money. And guys, the dirty little secret that they don't tell you, maybe they are now, but the money's made through the motivational organizations. The books, it was books, tapes, and functions in my days. Maybe it's books or MP3s and CDs now, I don't know. But the motivational organizations create a real issue with Amway because Amway didn't really have any control of them. They had distributor groups making large sums of money outside of Amway. So we were part of Worldwide Dream Builders. Adam, you were part of a different organization. They actually aligned through some of the major functions, and they functioned very similarly, but they provided the training, the monthly seminars, the quarterly major events, and again, the books, tapes, and functions that you were pretty much required to buy and read if you're going to be successful.
Absolutely. They were some of the best affiliate marketers of all time, and we'll be transparent with you right up front. Brad and I are involved in online marketing. Okay.
Yes.
And so there's several different types of online marketing. I mean, there's affiliate marketing where you sell someone else's products. That's ultimately what they were doing with their systems and their tapes and their tools, and everybody got a cut of that, right? Then you've got drop shipping, where you personally ship products to people that you find and mark up. You've got e-commerce, where you've got digital products that people sell, and then there's the physical products that you can actually sell online. And so, I love what Brad just said there, and he said it without saying it. There's different groups of people in Amway, different teams, different tribes, call them what you want to. You'll see that all over the game of marketing, whether it be online or offline. It's just that in the specific way that was taught to us in Amway, made the people that you were associated with more important than your friends and family, more important than your loved ones. And what they tried to do right out of the gate was get you to believe them and not believe anything else. So it was kind of a big psyops, and they were excellent at it. And if you didn't hear what he said, Brad, you were 20 years old when you found Amway?
Well, I heard about it back in college days. I had people, the buzz was, hey, I got this business, I'm going to be driving a Lamborghini or whatever it is. You go, what is it? And they said, I can't tell you. You'll have to come to this meeting. I thought, well, that's a really strange business approach. Kid. Actually, I was 31 years old when I was in this business. I spent 14 years of it. And I'll just say I never made any money. We ended up going into some serious debt as a result of this. I'm not going to blame it all on there, but trying to hold on to a dream while trying to build a business. And as we know, we hear it all the times too, a hobby costs you money, a business makes you money. I should realize that after 2 to 5 years, if I'm not making any money, this probably isn't the deal, but you get so brought in by the team, the system culture, and it is a very authoritarian male hierarchy where, the wife has to be involved if you're married. She's got to go to all the functions and all this stuff. And, that's okay to an extent, but like Adam said, they really quash any real dissent or really checking this out like, hey, here's a blank slate. You go out and check us out from top to bottom, see if we were legit. Well, you couldn't really do that 30 some years ago because you didn't have the internet. You just had to take their word for it. So yeah, we've come a long ways now over that time.
I believe it's interesting to me. I was 19 years old when I found Amway. It was shown by a young lady at college. And I think she was 23 or 24. And, she was a good looking young lady. And she always looked better than all the other students. Of course, I would drag myself in there in sweatpants and a dirty t-shirt just because that was the only way I was going to make it to college at 19. And you could just tell the difference, where she was dressed nice, she looked sharp, she spoke differently. And she would always sit next to me in class every day. And I'm like, why is this young lady that looks like this sitting next to me who looks like this? And at that age, you're like, oh man, she's definitely into me. She wasn't. He was very interested in sponsoring me in her Amway business, and she was very successful at it. And she said the same thing. She asked me what I do. I'm like, well, right now I'm going to get some lunch, and then I'm probably going to go to another class. She's like, no, what do you do for money? And I was like, well, I'm a server at a restaurant. It's like, thought that's what everybody did in college. She's like, oh, no. Me and my business partners, I work with some of the most successful entrepreneurs and business owners in the entire metro area here in Omaha. Man, I would have thought you were a business major just the way you were answering some of those questions, Adam. I think you should take a look. I think I should introduce you to some of my friends and show you what we do. And I'm like, what is it? And
natural question. Yeah.
Can't tell you. Actually, I'm really busy. I got to go somewhere. It's not a bad tactic for a new person that doesn't want to tell somebody if they're actually going to be truthful with them when they get the information. So I find myself sitting in a hotel room. This is actually funny. I felt like this is exactly where I was supposed to be and why I was supposed to be there. The hotel meeting was across the street from my apartment. And how crazy is that? And I'm like, man, this is just meant to be. I'm not even driving. I'm walking over here. And when I got there, they show the 642, and it took me years later before I found out the level that they were showing was a lie. The money that they were showing at the 7,500 platinum level is actually traditionally what the diamonds would make. Is that true, Brad?
Well, what I found out interesting when you go back at it and look at it, Adam, and again, typical business, you don't have this big, you want to have posture. I have posture. I don't want to talk or deal with everybody, but to like push people off, like, I don't know if you're good enough to talk to, is a little bit normal business, guys. Just that's not what you do. Okay. The 642, we were always told, because again, keep in mind, there was a little money made in Amway, but the big money was through the books, tapes, and functions. So actually, if you go back and look at the 642 objectively and stand back, at that time it was $67,200 a year, which these are company numbers. That's what the average diamond makes. Well, that should have told you something if you were actually thinking, well, that's what a real diamond makes in this business. But they'd say, oh, system and worldwide, for instance, a new diamond makes, 250, 300,000 a year or more. Well, yeah, because of the profits from the system, they don't make that money from Amway. So the 642, I think, was really telling a very accurate story, but they'd always spin it that, well, in our organization, we're making $200,000 or $300,000 a year at diamonds. So
right.
That's how they spun it.
It's wild too, because when I was, and this is, I think there's something to this. I don't know what your group was like, but my group was made up of, I bet you 70 to 75 or 80%, 19 to 25-year-olds. People that were either just starting out in college or had just graduated or didn't finish. And I believe they went after that group for a couple of reasons. Didn't know any better, was money hungry. So I would say yes to pretty much anything. And then the other thing was, they really didn't care if I even put my Amway product order in every month, as long as I was going to the function, going to the meetings, buying the tapes, the CDs, the books. Well, what does that tell you right there? The tapes, the CDs, and the books, and the meetings, and the functions are more important than the Amway products. Well, why? Because the money's being made over here, not where they told you it was going to be made.
Exactly.
I put my first order in, I think it was like $350, because, my sponsor said, hey, listen, if you want to stand out, you just met these guys, they shook your hand, they were really impressed by you at 19 years old, like, oh, sweet, they're impressed by me, I'll do whatever you say.
Flattery.
This order is $350. I only had like $355 in my checking account. Boom. Very first month in, my brother's like, hey, where's the rent? I'm like, dude, I don't have the rent, but I want to be so rich, it doesn't even matter. That's what they do. And the stupid, irresponsible thing about that is they never really told me how to go out there and grow or learn about the products. I never once was taught how to market a single product. I was taught how to market the system and the team. Yeah. In fact, when I was in, it was called Quickstar. It had just been rebranded in North America. Mm-hmm. I never heard Amway. Never once heard Amway, even though that's what it was. No. Never once. It was Quickstar North America, because if you said Amway, all of a sudden they're like, oh, never mind, bye. Okay? And so when I was leaving, this was the number one reason. Well, there's a couple of them. When the light bulb turned on for me, I was in for about 4 years, struggled my butt off the first year, obviously, mainly just because I was broke. I started to find out that if I didn't invite my upline to my meetings and I just sat down and talked to people and told them what my vision of this company could be, they would join me. They'd get excited. They'd take action. Problem is, they'd go show up to the meetings, and my upline would get very irritated that I wouldn't introduce my guests to them. And I didn't introduce my guests to them because they're weirdos. So like, dude, you're weird. Like, if you weren't weird, I'd introduce you to them. And so my team, and this is my last story for this segment, because we're going to dive into this in detail. My team and I, we broke away from our upline. Broke away. I said, hey, I'm not coming to your meetings. I'm going to do my own thing. Meaning the Omaha meeting, my home meeting. And I'm going to go build this my way. I want nothing to do with you. They immediately that night called every single person in my downline. They called it getting underneath me. Like, well, you got to go get underneath him. Reeker, he's went AWOL, so we got to go get underneath him. Which means what? Which means go badmouth me to my team that I worked hard to build, that was making them money, and tell them, hey, don't trust him anymore. He's dangerous. Stay away from him. My team, every single one that called me. They're like, Adam, can you believe these people? They just called me and said this about you. Well, I had more credibility with these people, even if they were total strangers, because I didn't treat them like they treat them.
Yeah.
And then we started, I'll get into the rest of that story in the next segment, I think, okay? But
Yeah.
I went to a function when they were changing the name back to Amway in North America, okay? And they said, it's the new Amway. It's not like the old Amway. It's the new Amway. I'm like, dude, this is the Quick Star. Why are you renaming it, calling it Amway? Isn't that what it originally was? Nope, this is totally different. This is the new Amway. And right then and there, I said, man, I don't know if I can do this anymore. And we were breaking away with my team at the same time. Upline calls me and says, Adam, you can do whatever you want. You can build this as big as you want and make me all the money you want, but you will never get any of the team money, which is where we make the big bucks. So it's your call. That's what he told me. Yeah. And right then and there, I had a decision to make. And I'll leave it at that for this segment, Brad. Tell me some stories. And I know it kind of when you decided, hey, this is not what I'm doing anymore.
Well, I'm gonna kind of dovetail off what you said. You know, we were taught to build a 300 PV circle that, and you go around and teach other people how to do it. You know, buy wholesale, you know, sell it to yourself, which I thought, what business marks up a product and sells it to themselves? That never made sense, but that's what we were taught to do. 300 PV was about $600 a month, which is quite a bit more than our budget could afford. So it's kind of hard to budget when your big hole in your budget is for your business, but to be committed, you need to do that 300 PV because that 300 PV shows that you are committed and you're trying to do the 10 steps of core. You're going to all the functions, the upline board plans. You know, I was initially told probably like 5 to 8 hours a week, 10 to 12. Guys, it was probably 15 to 20, if that. And I would guess our upline was probably, you know, 60 to 70 hours a week, if not. So I kind of thought, where's the financial freedom with this? You're working your butt off. But our organization was a little bit different, Adam. We had, you know, up here in Seattle was really the mecca of worldwide. You stumble into people at Starbucks all over, showing the plan, uplines everywhere. Our functions were packed. They'd have, you know, 1,000, 1,500 people at opens all week. And they had attracted a lot of professionals, a lot of names. I won't name any names, but a lot of people that were pretty well connected. So we didn't really have so much of a young crowd. There were a younger group, but it was kind of a really diverse. Seattle's a very ethnically diverse city opposed to Omaha, but we had a lot of professionals in the business. But I ended up staying with this business, never really making money. We got up to 1,500 PV guys, and that was a stretch to do that. That's as far as I was able to take it. But I ended up sticking in this business for 14 years, and my wife probably dropped out about 3 or 4 years before because she just couldn't. I mean, there's no results, guys. There's no fruit on the tree, right? Yep. And I finally ended up leaving in 2005 because I couldn't afford another function, that I needed to go to a major function. We'll put it on your credit card. My upline, my credit cards are maxed out. I don't have any more money in the bank. I can't do this. And the question, Adam, I'll end with this, is I think it was a tape I was listening to at the time by Jack Welch, and he's CEO of, anyway, he was talked about you have to define reality as it is, not as you wish it was. And I said, Brad, you're broke. Your credit cards are maxed out. You haven't made money. You aren't making money. Your chances of ever making money are probably slim to none. And I had to pull myself out, and it was hard. It was painful, but I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't go through the game. I couldn't play this hobby like I've got this big swing in business when I really didn't. I was broke and deeply in debt.
Guys, I want to let you know, to end this first segment, that Brad and I kept going because we believed in this industry, and there's a big difference between where we found this industry and where we are going and where we are today. Okay?
Yeah, absolutely, Adam.
I was in a 500 square foot apartment, lived there for 10 years. Okay? Because we didn't quit going, because Brad didn't quit going, our lives look a whole bunch different. My apartment would fit in just one room of my house now. And it wasn't because of Amway, but it was what I learned there. And I encourage you guys to watch the next segment. I think I don't know how many part segments this will be. As soon as we get it all out and tell our story, then we'll say, okay, that's enough. This segment's over. But thank you so much for checking this thing out. I want to let you guys know, if you click the link in the description, one thing you'll be able to do is actually download a free app to your phone that Brad Krantz and Ashley, my wife, and I have invented and put together that shows you exactly what we've been doing. And it's been a process, but we figured out how people can win in this industry, and it's drastically different than anything you've ever seen. So if this is entertaining to you and you're getting some information out of it, and that's all you want out of it, totally understand. If you still got a dream in your heart, click the link in the description, because I think you might relate to us very, very well in what we do today. So with that, Brad, thanks for hanging out tonight. And,
yeah, my pleasure to be here. And I would just say, guys, if you want to, the business, unfortunately, they are still stuck in the 20th century. Okay, that's not a slam. That's just a reality. They have not embraced technology to any significant level as far as social media, understanding how to use social media platforms. We have, guys. So we've taken our business model into the 21st century and are using 21st century technology to build our business, which should be of interest to you. If you want to know what's on the cutting edge, check out what we've got available as far as resources.
Hey, and we're pretty open and honest about it. You'll find out right away what we do. All right. So we believe in you. Brad, we'll see you next week, man.
You guys.